The kingdom of Agudoro was a land of songs and sunrise, peaceful, prosperous, and beloved by the gods. Its people danced at moonrise and blessed the soil with every harvest. At the heart of it stood King Obenknife and Queen Maku, the golden rulers. They ruled with kindness, justice, and open hearts. But even gold rusts under longing. For 15 years, their palace echoed with everything but a child's laughter. No air. No giggle in the garden. Just silence. The people whispered in prayers, "May the gods give us a prince." The king hid his sorrow behind royal smiles, but the queen's eyes always searched the skies, begging for a sign. One night, under the crimson moon, she slipped away from the palace, alone. Guided by an old tale and desperate hope, she reached the forbidden riverbank, where the river goddess, Ejena, was said to listen only to women who had wept from their soul. Queen Maku knelt and pleaded. And the water answered. A figure rose from the ripples. Beautiful, terrible, ageless. The goddess said, "You shall carry life. But what comes will not be as you expect. Do you still accept?" The queen, through tears, whispered yes. The river shimmered and sealed her fate. Queen Maku stepped through the palace gates with a calm smile, but something deep inside her had already begun to stir. Within weeks, the royal physician confirmed it, she was pregnant. The news hit Agudoro like a thunderclap of joy. Women ululated in the market square. Drummers lined the palace walls. Elders poured palm wine and declared, "The gods have heard us." The king embraced her tightly, lifting her slightly, laughing like a man reborn. "We shall have an heir," he declared. "The throne will not be empty." But as the kingdom danced, the queen began to notice things. Small things. Odd things. Her cat, once gentle, hissed and leapt from her lap. Palace dogs barked uncontrollably when she entered a room, their eyes wild with something between fear and instinct. Birds flew in erratic circles above her chamber, then vanished altogether. Then came the mirrors. 3 of them cracked, one after another, as she passed. No one touched them. No wind. No fall. Just her reflection, then a sudden sharp fracture. By the 3rd mirror, even the boldest servant looked away. Whispers slithered through the corridors. Maybe it's not a child. What kind of baby breaks glass and frightens beasts? The queen said nothing. But at night, she clutched her belly and sang soft lullabies, her voice shaking. The king stayed strong. Loyal. "This is a gift," he told her, resting his head on her swelling stomach. "A child from the gods." But as her dreams turned to shadows and her laughter quieted, even he couldn't explain why he no longer looked her in the eye, especially when the 4th mirror cracked, this time with no one else in the room but them. The night Queen Maku went into labor, the skies raged like never before. Thunder cracked over Agudoro, shaking the palace walls. Rain pounded the rooftops in wild fury, and lightning split the heavens like angry spirits tearing the clouds apart. Inside the royal chamber, flames danced uneasily in their sconces, casting long, nervous shadows. Midwives gathered, trembling but ready. The queen gripped the silk sheets, her screams muffled by the roar of the storm outside. Something about the birth was wrong. The air felt too heavy. The walls too quiet. A cold wind curled beneath the door despite it being sealed shut. Then it happened. A shriek, long, sharp, and full of horror, pierced the chamber. One of the midwives dropped her bowl of warm water. Another stumbled back, covering her mouth in terror. The queen, slick with sweat and barely conscious, opened her eyes just in time to see it. From between her legs slithered a long, scaled creature. Silver and black. Its body glistened like oil under the torchlight. Its eyes, large, golden, glowing, blinked with a strange, eerie intelligence. It was no ordinary child. It was a snake. The queen let out a weak gasp and collapsed into darkness. The king arrived moments later, soaked in rain, his robe clinging to his skin. He stared in disbelief. What is this?" he whispered. The guards unsheathed their swords. "Let us kill it, your majesty. This is an abomination." But before the king could speak, the queen stirred. Her voice was hoarse, cracked with pain, yet firm. "Do not harm him. He is my son." Gasps echoed through the room. "But my queen," one midwife began. "I said, he is my son," she repeated, pulling the serpent close to her chest, cradling it like a baby. The king, torn between duty and disbelief, finally nodded. "No one shall speak of this. Ever." He turned to the creature, now blinking slowly, coiled gently in silk. "We name him Iduma." Behind the queen's chambers, hidden behind a velvet curtain and a heavy bronze door, lay a golden cage. It sparkled with charms carved into its bars, not to imprison, but to protect. Inside, curled atop silken cloth, lived the secret of the kingdom, Iduma, the snake prince of Agudoro. He grew fast, longer, larger, and more intelligent by the day. At just a few moons old, he could understand speech. The queen would whisper stories from her childhood, and Iduma's golden eyes would blink in perfect rhythm, as though he understood every word. And he did. By his first year, strange things began to happen. The flowers she carried into the room bloomed faster. Rain clouds would gather when he hissed. A single flick of his tongue made candle flames dance or die. The queen, though startled, believed it was proof he was touched by the gods. She loved him fiercely. Each day she came with stories, lullabies, and tiny wooden toys carved to look like men and women. "One day, you'll be like them," she whispered, pressing her forehead to the cage. "Even if they don't see it now." But the king no longer came near. He barely touched the queen. Barely spoke. At night, she found him staring into the fire, lost. Haunted. "He is not ours," he once muttered. "He is something else." Still, the queen hoped. Until one night. The palace feast was in full swing. Laughter echoed through marble halls. Guests in shimmering robes clinked glasses. The king tried to smile, but the ache in his chest was heavy. And then came the scream. A servant dropped her tray. A nobleman stumbled backward. There, at the edge of the hall, slithering slowly through polished floors, was Iduma, taller now, larger, elegant in his glide. His golden eyes scanned the room. He paused before the king's throne. "Father," he whispered, in perfect human speech. The hall fell into silence. The hall shattered into chaos. As soon as Iduma's voice echoed, low, clear, and almost human, screams erupted like thunder. Nobles leapt from their seats, goblets crashing to the floor, plates overturning. Some tripped over their flowing garments, others shoved aside chairs in blind panic. "A demon," one shouted. "The queen has birthed a curse." The king stood frozen, his knuckles white on the edge of his throne. He didn't speak. Didn't blink. Just stared into those golden eyes that shimmered beneath the torchlight. "Father," the creature had said. Not with venom. Not with threat. Just a word. A longing. But the king could not see a son. He saw a prophecy. A mistake. An omen. "Guards," he said quietly. "Remove that thing." The queen's voice cut through the noise, trembling. "No. Obanif, he's just a boy, our boy." But the king had already turned away. "Take him. To the forbidden forest. Let the gods reclaim what they gave." The queen dropped to her knees, sobbing as guards approached the serpent prince. Iduma didn't resist. He simply watched his mother, blinking slowly, as though memorizing her face one last time. Before slithering between the guards and out of the hall, into the storm. They left him deep in the forest where no lanterns burned and no path returned. And that should have been the end. But it wasn't. In the heart of the forbidden forest, where shadows breathed and trees whispered, Iduma waited. Days passed. Nights twisted into darker nights. He was hungry. Cold. alone. Until a voice slithered into his ear. So, the son of the river is here at last. A figure stepped from the gloom, half man, half beast, with glowing green eyes and skin like tree bark. I've waited for you, Iduma, it said with a crooked smile. Because I know who you really are. The snake prince raised his head, uncertain, but listening. The creature's voice was like rustling leaves and thunder rolled into one. It circled Iduma slowly, its limbs bent like ancient branches, eyes glowing through the mist. They lied to you, it hissed. You are no curse, boy. You are a judgment. Iduma stayed still, coiled and alert, heart pounding beneath his scales. You are not like them, the creature continued. You were never meant to sit on that throne and wear their golden robes. You are the river's justice. Born of a promise older than the kingdom itself. Iduma blinked. What do you mean? The creature knelt, its voice lowering to a whisper. Long ago, the queen's bloodline made a pact with the river goddess, Ijena. She gave them fertility, prosperity, and a long reign. But they broke that pact. They hunted her daughter, a spirit child born of water and starlight, and killed her, thinking she was a threat. Silence hung thick in the forest. They thought the river would forget. But rivers remember. You, Iduma, are not cursed. You are the answer. You are part human, part vengeance. You were never born to inherit the throne, you were born to end it. Iduma turned away, confused, torn. But my mother, she loves me. And that, the creature said, is the part the gods didn't plan. Love complicates fate. Back in the palace, Queen Maku tossed in her sleep. A fever had taken her. Her skin was clammy, her breath shallow. Yet her mind was filled with visions. Water. Waves crashing into mirrors. A voice rising from the deep. He is rising, it called. He remembers. The queen awoke with a gasp, drenched in sweat. She rushed to her chamber window, eyes fixed on the dark forest beyond the hills. Somewhere in the trees, her son, her serpent prince, was stirring. And destiny, like a flood, was about to break its banks. 10 years passed like smoke in the wind. In Agudoro, joy faded into dread. The once rich soil cracked under the sun. Crops refused to grow. Rivers thinned into dry whispers. The people, once full of praise, now wept at shrines. The gods are angry, they murmured. The forest spirit demands something. Whispers grew louder. They spoke of a glowing serpent. Larger than any man, with golden eyes and scales that shimmered like fire. A spirit king that ruled the forbidden forest. Some said it cursed the land. Others claimed it was a guardian wronged. But Queen Maku knew. She felt it in her bones, in the way the air grew heavy each time she looked toward the hills. In her dreams, his voice came in murmurs. Mother, come. One quiet morning, she left the palace unnoticed. No guards. No maids. Just her trembling hands wrapped in old cloth and her heart beating louder with every step into the forest. The path was overgrown, the silence unnerving. But she pressed on, deeper and deeper, until the trees gave way to a clearing bathed in unnatural light. There, curled beneath a giant tree, was a serpent, colossal, regal, and glowing faintly with gold. Its eyes opened slowly, locking onto hers. She dropped to her knees, breath catching. Iduma, she whispered. The ground trembled. Will you choose the kingdom, or me? The serpent asked, his voice soft yet thunderous, echoing through the trees like a forgotten song. Thunder cracked above them, shaking the sky. Queen Maku gasped, her heart tearing in two. Her son's eyes begged for love, her crown whispered duty. She opened her mouth to answer, but the earth beneath her feet groaned. With a deafening roar, the forest floor split open. From the chasm slithered a legion of glowing snakes, their bodies weaving in silence, their eyes gleaming with purpose. She stumbled back, surrounded, choice frozen on her lips. The forest held its breath. To be continued. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when part 2 drops.